My brother Sebastian stood up from the mahogany table. He adjusted his $10,000 platinum watch. He smoothed his bespoke charcoal silk tie. He looked directly at me. His smile didn't reach his eyes. My name is Elena Voss. I'm 28 years old. Until that morning, I thought family meant something different. 3 weeks ago, at precisely 9:15 in the morning, we gathered in the Mercer Commercial Arbitration Chamber. The room was in downtown Boston. 12 seated witnesses watched from the gallery. The presiding arbitrator sat at the bench. He had seen every kind of greed imaginable. Then he spoke. My sister has demonstrated clear financial incompetence. She has documented emotional instability. She systematically isolated our grandmother. She mismanaged digital assets. He paused for effect. She cannot be trusted with liquid capital. I move for immediate sole control of the entire estate portfolio. 12 witnesses heard him. 12 people watched him paint me as a criminal. His suit cost more than my 6 months of rent combined. My parents sat behind him. Victor and Diana nodded in perfect synchronization. They had rehearsed it in the car. My mother's hands folded into that fake prayer position. She reserves that for funerals. My father's jaw was set tight. He looked like we were discussing a hostile corporate takeover. This was his mother's legacy. But what Sebastian didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the woman in the elegant suit was already walking up the marble stairs outside. She carried a sealed envelope. It didn't contain opinions. It didn't contain negotiation tactics. It contained instruments that would turn their performance into documented evidence of attempted fraud. And 17 minutes from that exact moment, my brother would try to commit a digital crime. It would be monumentally stupid. Vanguard Fiduciary's artificial intelligence would flag his biometric signature. He would be on permanent fraud watch before he cleared the courtroom doors. Before I tell you what happened next, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back to where it all started. I grew up in a household where love had interest rates attached. My father, Victor, ran a construction supply business out of Worcester. He counted everything. He counted screws in boxes. He counted minutes you were late. He counted favors he provided so he could withdraw them later with penalties. My mother, Diana, taught piano to wealthy children in Back Bay. She knew exactly which families had old money versus new money. She adjusted her smile accordingly. Her love was conditional on your ability to reflect well on her social calendar. Sebastian arrived first. He was the golden child by default. He got the bigger bedroom because he was older. He got the car at 16 because he was a boy. He got the tuition for private business school because he was the investment. I arrived 4 years later. I was the backup plan. The accident. The complication that required my mother to pause her teaching career for 18 months. She reminded me of this whenever I asked for new shoes. We lived in a modest colonial in Newton. From the outside, we looked like a successful Boston family. Inside, we operated like a failing corporation with terrible management. Sebastian learned early that wealth meant weaponry. He started his first company at 22. It was a logistics app that delivered dry cleaning to hedge fund managers. He sold it for $2 million 18 months later. Suddenly, he wore shoes that cost $800. He drove a car that beeped when you got too close to the curb. I took a different route. I studied accounting at UMass Boston. I worked 3 jobs during school. I lived in a studio apartment in Somerville with a radiator that sounded like a dying animal. I became a certified public accountant because I liked numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't have favorites. My grandmother Margot saw the difference clearly. Margot lived in a brownstone in Beacon Hill. She had lived there since 1963 when she married my grandfather Arthur. Arthur died when I was 7. I only remember his pipe smoke and his laugh that sounded like gravel in a cement mixer. Margot kept the house exactly as it was. Same furniture, same silver patterns, same telephone in the kitchen with a rotary dial. She refused to upgrade to touch-tone. She said push-button phones made people impatient. I visited her every Sunday for 6 years. I brought her cannolis from Mike's Pastry. She made tea in a pot that had belonged to her mother. We sat in her parlor with the heavy velvet curtains and we talked. She asked about my work. She actually listened when I explained depreciation schedules. She understood why I preferred forensic accounting to auditing. She said finding the truth in ledgers was like archaeology without the dirt. Sebastian visited twice a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. He stayed exactly 45 minutes. He brought bottles of wine that cost $200. He talked about his portfolio. He checked his phone under the table. Margot noticed. She noticed everything. She had a way of looking at you that made you feel transparent, not judged, just seen. When Sebastian bragged about his latest acquisition, her eyes would go flat. When I told her about catching an embezzlement scheme at a client firm, she leaned forward. You have the mind for patterns. She told me one rainy Sunday in March. That's rare. Most people see what they want to see. You see what is actually there. She started asking me to help with her finances that year, not because she couldn't manage them. She had managed them perfectly for 40 years. She wanted me to understand them. We sat at her dining room table with ledgers spread out. She showed me the investment accounts, the municipal bonds, the real estate holdings in Vermont, the art collection and climate-controlled storage. It totaled approximately $4.8 million. That was the liquid portion. The brownstone itself was worth another $3 million in the current Boston market. This isn't wealth, she said one afternoon. She stirred her tea. The spoon clicked against the china. This is responsibility. Money is just stored energy. It represents labor and time and choices. You have to be careful who you give the keys to the battery. I didn't understand what she meant then. I thought she was being philosophical. Grandmothers do that. They say things about responsibility and legacy. You nod and you eat another cookie. But Margot was building something. She was testing me. She was watching how I handled information, how I kept confidences, how I reacted when I found discrepancies, because I did find them. In April, I noticed unusual withdrawals from one of her investment accounts. $5,000 every month. Regular as clockwork. The statements showed them as administrative fees. I traced them. They were going to a holding company. The holding company was registered to an address in the Cayman Islands. The registered agent was a name I recognized from Sebastian's business filings. My brother was siphoning money from our grandmother, slowly, carefully. $5,000 a month for 8 months, $40,000 total. I didn't confront him. I didn't tell my parents. I took the evidence to Margot. She looked at the papers. She didn't cry. She didn't call a lawyer immediately. She poured 2 glasses of sherry. She handed one to me. You found it in 3 hours, she said. It took me 2 days to confirm it myself last month. She already knew. She had known for weeks. I wanted to see if you would tell me, she said. Or if you would use it against him. Or if you would ignore it, because confrontation is uncomfortable. What are you going to do? I asked. She looked out the window at the cherry blossoms on the street. I'm going to change the locks, she said. Not on the house, on the future. She hired an estate attorney the next week. Margot died on a Tuesday in October. It was sudden, it was peaceful. It was exactly how she would have wanted it. She had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure 6 months prior. She refused to go to a hospital. She hired a private nurse named Gloria, who had kind eyes and didn't talk during the news. Margot stayed in her brownstone. She slept in her own bedroom with the brass bed frame. She looked out at the Boston Common when the leaves turned. I moved in for the final 3 weeks. I slept on the pull-out sofa in the library. I brought my laptop and worked remotely. I made her soup that she didn't eat. I read her the financial pages because she still cared whether the Federal Reserve was being foolish. 3 days before she passed, she asked me to bring her the black lacquer box from the top shelf of her closet. It was heavy. It smelled like cedar and old paper. Inside were documents I had never seen. Bound in blue leather, stamped with gold seals, they bore the letterhead of Hawthorne National Bank Trust Department, but crossed out with a single confident line. Below it, written in her distinctive cursive, was a new name. Vanguard Fiduciary Services. This is your armor, she said. Her voice was thin. It sounded like paper rustling. Not a weapon, armor. There's a difference. She explained it slowly. She had dissolved the previous revocable trust. She had established a new irrevocable living trust. She had transferred everything. The brownstone, the bonds, the art, the cash positions, everything. It's not controlled by any of you, she said. Not you, not Sebastian, not Victor. It's administered by the corporate trustee. They follow the document, not emotions, not arguments. The document, she handed me a USB drive. It was encrypted. It contained a video affidavit. She had recorded it 6 weeks ago with 2 witnesses present. A forensic psychologist had evaluated her capacity, and a state attorney had certified the execution. If they try to take it by force, she said, if they accuse you of coercion or mismanagement, the trust has a provision, Section 9. No contest clause. Any beneficiary who petitions to seize assets contrary to the terms forfeits their distribution, automatically. No judge can override it. No family vote. Automatic. She squeezed my hand. Her grip was still strong. Don't tell them. Let them show you who they are. She died 48 hours later. I was holding her hand. The nurse called the time. I sat there for 20 minutes listening to the silence where her breathing used to be. Then I called my father. He answered on the 3rd ring. He was at a job site. I could hear a table saw screaming in the background. She's gone, I said. There was a pause. Then, did she leave instructions? About the house? That was his first question. Not how are you? Not was she in pain? The house? The real estate. There's a trust, I said. There will be a reading. Sebastian will handle it, he said. He's the executor. He's not. I said, there's no executor. There's a trustee. The line went quiet. The saw stopped. What did you do? He asked. I didn't understand the question then. I do now. The funeral was 3 days later. It was small. Margot had outlived most of her friends. Sebastian wore a suit that cost more than her casket. He stood at the back of the room talking on his phone about a merger. My mother cried theatrically into a handkerchief that had been starched so stiff it could stand on its own. After the service, we gathered at the brownstone. It was awkward. Nobody knew who owned the cheese plates anymore. Sebastian opened a bottle of scotch that had been in the cabinet since 1984. He poured 3 fingers into a crystal tumbler. He looked at me over the rim. So, he said, how much did she leave you? Everything is in a trust, I said. I know what a trust is, he said. His smile was sharp. I'm asking about the specific distributions, the percentages, the liquidity events. I don't know yet, I said. The trustee hasn't completed the inventory. He set the glass down, hard. The crystal rang. You don't know, or you won't say. Sebastian, my mother said. She touched his arm. Not here. Yes, here, he said. Right here. Because I'm looking at the tax assessments, Elena. I know what this house is worth. I know what the portfolio was generating. And I'm not going to let you isolate our inheritance because you played nurse for 3 weeks. I felt the floor tilt. I didn't play anything. You moved in, he said. You controlled access. You managed her medications. You had her ear. Now suddenly there's a new trust. With a corporate trustee? You think I'm stupid. My father stepped between us. Not to protect me, to position himself. Let's be civil, he said. We'll hire an attorney. We'll review the documents. If Elena influenced your grandmother, we'll find out. I didn't influence her, I said. My voice was shaking. I loved her. Love, Sebastian said. He laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Love is what people claim when they're taking something that doesn't belong to them. 4 days later, the courier arrived at my apartment in Somerville. It was 7 in the morning. I was in my bathrobe. I hadn't slept. I was sorting through Margot's jewelry box, looking for the pearl earrings she wanted me to have. The envelope was thick, white with a red certification sticker across the seal. It was from Mercer Commercial Arbitration Services. Inside was an emergency motion to liquidate estate assets and remove successor beneficiary. It was 47 pages long. It named me as the respondent. It accused me of financial coercion, digital asset mismanagement, undue influence, and elder abuse. It requested that the court, no, the arbitrator, grant Sebastian immediate sole authority over all liquid assets. It requested that I be removed from the premises of the Beacon Hill brownstone. It requested that all digital access codes and financial passwords be surrendered within 48 hours. It was signed by Marcus Reed, attorney for the petitioner, Sebastian Voss. There was a date stamped at the top. The hearing was in 72 hours. I called Rachel. She answered on the first ring. She knew, I said. My teeth were chattering. I wasn't cold, I was vibrating. Margot knew they would do this. She knew the exact words they would use. Slow down, Rachel said. She was a paralegal at a corporate defense firm. She understood the language of legal warfare. What does the motion actually say? I read her the allegations. The claim that I had isolated Margot, the claim that I had mismanaged her digital assets, the claim that I lacked the financial sophistication to administer the portfolio. Digital asset mismanagement. Rachel repeated. That's specific. That's forensic language. They're setting up a narrative that you're technically incompetent. They want the money, I said. All of it. Immediately. Okay, Rachel said. Her voice changed. It got harder, more professional. You need to call the trustee, right now. You need to invoke the protective provisions, and Elena? Do not tell them you have a video affidavit. Do not tell them about the no contest clause. Let them file. Let them show their hand. I looked at the motion again, at Sebastian's signature, at the way he had spelled my name. Elena Voss, respondent, like I was a stranger, like I was a criminal. He's going to regret this, I said. It wasn't a threat, it was a realization. I know, Rachel said, because grandmothers who see clearly don't leave their grandchildren defenseless. They leave them prepared. I hung up. I opened my laptop. I drafted an email to Vanguard Fiduciary Services. Subject line, urgent, request for trust documentation and Section 9 review. Then I waited. I waited for the hearing. I waited for Sebastian to stand up in that mahogany room. I waited for him to claim I was incompetent, unstable, a thief. I waited for the woman in the elegant suit to walk up those marble stairs with the sealed envelope that would turn his attack into evidence of his own forfeiture. 72 hours later, at 9:15 in the morning, I got my wish. The Mercer Commercial Arbitration Chamber smelled like old paper and furniture polish. It was on the 14th floor of the Financial District Tower. The windows looked out over Boston Harbor. You could see the gray water and the container ships if you turned your head. Nobody was looking at the view. I sat at the respondent table. It was mahogany. It was cold. My fingertips left prints on the surface every time I touched it. Rachel sat beside me. She wasn't my attorney. She was my friend, but she knew procedure. She knew when to object. She knew how to whisper the right words when my mind went blank. Sebastian sat at the petitioner table. He had 3 attorneys, not 1, 3. The lead was Marcus Reed. He had silver hair and a watch that ticked audibly. It sounded expensive. He arranged his pens in a perfect line. He smiled at me. It was the smile you give to people you are about to dismantle. My parents sat in the gallery, second row, center aisle. They wore black, not morning black, power black. Diana had a hat. It had a small veil. She looked like she was attending a funeral where someone else was doing the grieving for her. The presiding arbitrator was named Harold Chen. He was 72 years old. He had arbitrated over 4,000 estate disputes. His robes were charcoal gray, not black. Arbitration is less formal than court, but the consequences are just as permanent. He called the session to order at 9:17. 2 minutes late, traffic on the expressway. Even arbitrators get stuck in Boston gridlock. We are here regarding the emergency motion to liquidate estate assets and remove successor beneficiary, he said. His voice was gravel and honey. Petitioner is Sebastian Voss. Respondent is Elena Voss. This is a determination hearing, not a trial. I will hear argument. I will review evidence. I will issue a binding determination today. Today? That word hung in the air. Sebastian wanted speed. Speed favors the prepared. Speed punishes the surprised. Marcus Reed stood up. He buttoned his jacket. He held a leather portfolio. It was the color of dried blood. Your Honor, he said, this is a case of urgency, of protection, of prevention. He walked to the center of the room. He had good shoes. They clicked on the marble. The dissident, Margot Voss, passed away 12 days ago. She was 89 years old. She was in declining health. During her final 3 weeks, she was isolated from her family. She was under the exclusive control of the respondent, Elena Voss. During this period, suspicious financial instruments were executed. A new trust appeared. A corporate trustee was named. The decedent's assets, valued at approximately $7.8 million, were transferred into instruments that the family cannot access, cannot review, and cannot administer. He paused. He looked at me. His eyes were blue and empty. The respondent is 28 years old. She is a junior accountant at a mid-tier firm. She has no experience with estate administration. She has no experience with trust management. Yet suddenly she is the sole beneficiary of a complex, irrevocable trust. This strains credulity. He turned back to the arbitrator. We have evidence of undue influence. We have evidence of financial mismanagement. We have evidence that the respondent digitally manipulated accounts during the decedent's final weeks. We move for immediate liquidation of the trust assets into the probate estate, immediate appointment of Sebastian Voss as administrator, and immediate removal of Alana Voss from any position of authority. He sat down. The room was quiet. I could hear the air conditioning hiss. The arbitrator looked at me. Ms. Voss, do you wish to respond? My mouth was dry. I had prepared 3 sentences. I had rehearsed them in the mirror that morning. I couldn't remember the first word. Rachel touched my elbow. A small pressure. A reminder. Yes, I said. My voice sounded small. I cleared my throat. Yes, I object. On what grounds? The arbitrator asked. I looked at Sebastian. He was smirking. He thought I was going to argue. He thought I was going to debate him about influence and capability. He had 3 attorneys and 40 hours of preparation. I had a secret. I need to wait for the final documentation to arrive, I said. The arbitrator's eyebrows rose. Documentation. Yes, I said. From the trustee, Vanguard Fiduciary Services. It is en route. It should arrive within minutes. Sebastian laughed. Out loud. It was a sharp bark. Your Honor? Marcus Reed said. Standing again. This is a delay tactic. This is obstruction. The respondent has had 72 hours notice of this hearing. If she lacks documentation, it is because she failed to prepare. We move to proceed immediately. The arbitrator held up a hand. Sit down, counsel. He looked at me. His eyes were sharp. They had seen every trick, every stall, every desperate grab for time. Ms. Voss, he said. This is arbitration, not a theatrical performance. If you have a defense, present it. If you have evidence, Ms. Voss, he said. This is arbitration, not a theatrical performance. If you have a defense, present it. If you have evidence, I have evidence, I said. My voice didn't shake this time. It sounded like Margot's voice, calm, certain. But I'm not the custodian of the trust instruments. The trustee is. They are delivering the certification as we speak. Sebastian leaned forward. His hands flattened on the mahogany. Your Honor, my sister is stalling. She is playing for time because she knows she cannot justify her position. She isolated our grandmother. She controlled her medications. She had exclusive access to her financial accounts during the final weeks of her life. My father stood up. He didn't ask permission. Your Honor, I need to speak, as the decedent's son. The arbitrator looked at him. His expression didn't change. Sit down, Mr. Voss. You're not a party to this motion. I am the heir, my father said. His voice cracked. I am the direct descendant. She was my mother. And you are now a witness, the arbitrator said. His voice was flat, cold. You will behave like one or you will be removed from these proceedings. My father sat, his face turned red. Not shame, anger. My mother touched his arm. Her fingers dug into his sleeve. She looked at me. Her eyes were wet. They were the wrong kind of tears. They were performance tears. Alina, she said. She used her stage voice. The one she used when she wanted the neighbors to hear. Alina, please, don't do this to the family. We just want to honor your grandmother's wishes. I looked at her. What were her wishes, Mother? Did she tell you? Did you visit her in the final 6 months? Did you call? She flinched. I was busy. I had obligations. You had lunch at the country club, I said. 12 times I saw the credit card statements. The arbitrator cleared his throat. Ms. Voss. The documentation. You claim it is en route. How long do you expect this court to wait? Minutes, I said. Not hours, minutes. Marcus Reed sighed. It was a theatrical sound. He looked at the arbitrator with an expression that said, "See what I have to deal with?" "Your Honor," he said, "we have a simple request. Liquidate the trust. Appoint an administrator. The respondent can present her evidence at the subsequent accounting. There is no reason to delay." "There is a reason," I said. "What reason?" Sebastian snapped. He couldn't help himself. He never could. What could possibly justify keeping grandmother's assets locked away while you figure out how to hide what you did? "Because," I said, "the trust contains a no-contest clause. Section 9. The room went quiet. Marcus Reed's smile faltered. Just for a second. It was like watching a crack appear in a frozen lake. "What?" Sebastian said. "Any beneficiary who petitions to seize trust assets contrary to the terms forfeits their distribution," I said. The words were memorized. I had read them 100 times. "Automatically, irrevocably, your motion, Sebastian, if granted, would trigger your own disinheritance." Sebastian laughed. It was high, nervous. "That's absurd. You can't trick me with legal jargon." "It's not jargon," I said. "It's the document you didn't read, because you were too busy counting the money you hadn't earned yet." The arbitrator held up his hand. He looked at me. His eyes were different now. "Interested, you're alleging that the petitioner's own motion triggers a forfeiture provision?" "Yes," I said. "Do you have proof of this clause?" "It is arriving," I said. "With the trustee's representative?" As if on cue, the doors opened. Not a dramatic swing, not a crash. A clean, controlled push. A woman walked in. She wore an elegant suit, navy blue, tailored. She carried a leather briefcase. It was slim. It looked expensive. She walked with the kind of posture that comes from knowing exactly where you're going. She didn't look at Sebastian. She didn't look at my parents. She walked straight to the clerk's desk. "Delivery for the Mercer Arbitration Chamber," she said. Her voice was clear. "Professional from Vanguard Fiduciary Services. Trustee of the Margot Voss Irrevocable Living Trust." The clerk took the envelope. It was thick. It was sealed with red wax. It looked medieval. It looked final. The arbitrator gestured. "Bring it here." The clerk brought it forward. The arbitrator took it. He turned it over. He examined the seal. He broke it. The crack sounded like a gunshot in the silent room. He pulled out the documents. They were heavy stock, cream-colored, embossed. He read the first page. Then the second. His eyebrows rose. He looked at Marcus Reed, then at Sebastian, then at me. "Mr. Reed," he said, "your motion requests the liquidation of a trust into the estate." "Yes," Marcus Reed said. His voice was careful now, so that the estate can be properly administered. "The documents before me indicate that the decedent transferred all liquid assets into an irrevocable living trust 6 months prior to her death." The arbitrator said, "The trust became irrevocable upon her passing. The probate estate is minimal, approximately $12,000. Personal effects. Household goods." He turned a page. "The trust is administered by Vanguard Fiduciary Services. The successor trustee is corporate, not individual. The primary beneficiary is Elena Voss. The contingent beneficiaries are the petitioner's parents, Victor and Diana Voss, subject to specific conditions." My mother's hand went to her throat. "Conditions?" Silence. The arbitrator said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Furthermore, the trust instrument contains a no-contest clause. Section 9. It states that any beneficiary who institutes legal proceedings to invalidate the trust, or to remove the trustee, or to seize assets contrary to the distribution scheme, shall forfeit all rights to distribution, automatically, without further adjudication." He looked up. He looked at Sebastian. "Mr. Voss," he said, "your motion appears to trigger the exact condition described in Section 9. Sebastian's face went white. Then red. "No, no, that's not possible. She manipulated her. She forced her to sign this. The trust execution includes an affidavit of capacity." The arbitrator said. He held up a page signed by a forensic psychologist. "Dr. Alan Reinhardt, it certifies that Margot Voss was of sound mind and body when she executed this instrument. It includes video evidence." He pulled out a USB drive. It was labeled in Margot's handwriting. "For the day they try to take it from her." Your Honor, Marcus Reed said. He was standing now. We dispute the validity of this trust. We allege undue influence. We allege that the respondent exercised coercion over a vulnerable elderly woman. We request a full evidentiary hearing. You had your hearing, the arbitrator said. You filed an emergency motion. You requested immediate relief. You demanded sole control of assets. You do not legally control. He tapped the document. According to this, you never did. Sebastian stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. The sound made everyone jump. This is a trick. This is her trick. She planned this. She isolated grandmother so she could steal everything. Sit down, the arbitrator said. I won't sit down, Sebastian shouted. His voice broke. That money is mine. I've earned it. I've worked for this family. She just showed up at the end and played nurse. You visited twice, I said. My voice was quiet. It cut through his shouting. Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve, you stayed 45 minutes. You talked about your portfolio. You checked your watch. I was busy, he screamed. I was building something. I was creating wealth. You were stealing, I said. 5,000 a month. For 8 months from her investment accounts. I found it in April. She knew. She knew exactly who you were. The room went still. Sebastian's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes flicked to my father, to my mother. They looked away. You, he started. The arbitrator slammed his hand on the desk. Not a gavel, a flat hand. The sound was final. Enough, he said. I have reviewed the trust certification. I have reviewed the capacity affidavit. I have reviewed Section 9. The petitioner's motion is denied. Furthermore, given the specific language of the no contest clause, the petitioner has triggered the forfeiture provision by filing this motion. His interest in the trust is hereby suspended pending final determination. He looked at my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Voss. You are named as contingent beneficiaries. However, given your participation in this petition and your coordination with the petitioner, the trustee may determine that you have also triggered forfeiture under Section 9. That determination will be made by Vanguard Fiduciary Services within 48 hours. My mother made a sound. It was like a wounded animal. The arbitrator closed the folder. This hearing is recessed for 17 minutes. When we return, we will discuss sanctions against the petitioner's counsel for filing a frivolous motion with knowledge of the no contest clause. Mr. Reed, I hope you have an explanation for why you filed an emergency motion to seize assets that you knew or should have known were protected by an irrevocable trust. He stood up. He left through the side door. The room exploded into noise. Sebastian was shouting at Marcus Reed. My father was shouting at Sebastian. My mother was crying into her hands. The veil on her hat was crooked. I sat still. Rachel touched my hand. Don't look at them, she whispered. Look at your phone. I looked down. There was a text message. It was from an unknown number. It said, Security alert, attempted access detected on Vanguard beneficiary portal. Device signature does not match authorized user. Location, Mercer Arbitration Chamber. Time 09:47. I looked up. Sebastian was standing near the window. His back was to me. His shoulders were hunched. His right hand was in his pocket. He was holding his phone. His thumb was moving. He was trying to break in. He was trying to steal it digitally since he couldn't steal it legally. And 17 minutes from now, when the arbitrator returned, I would tell him exactly what his petitioner had just attempted. Sebastian just tried to hack the trust portal from inside the arbitration chamber. The AI has flagged his biometric signature. When the arbitrator returns, I'm going to tell him everything. But what I don't know yet is that my father is about to be served with criminal papers in the hallway, and the woman in the elegant suit has one more envelope. One that contains Margot's final message, a video. And what it shows will destroy any hope my family had of walking away from this with their reputations intact. The 17-minute recess felt like 17 years. I sat at the respondent table with my hands folded. Rachel was whispering to me about procedure. She was explaining what sanctions meant. She was explaining that the arbitrator could order Sebastian to pay my legal fees. I wasn't listening. I was watching my brother. He stood by the window with his phone in his pocket. His thumb was still moving, scrolling, typing, attempting. He thought he was being subtle. He thought the glass reflection hid his face. I could see his jaw working. I could see the sweat on his temple. At 0947, exactly. The security alert had arrived. At 0948, another one followed. Attempted password reset. Failed. Attempted contact information update. Blocked. He was trying to change the phone number on file. He was trying to reroute the authentication codes to his own device. It was desperate. It was stupid. It was digitally fingerprinted. My father stood up. He walked toward the exit. He was going to smoke, or call someone, or run. That was when the doors opened. Not the side door the arbitrator had used. The main doors. The heavy oak ones that led to the hallway. A uniformed deputy walked in. He was followed by two others. They stood by the doors. Their hands rested on their belts. Not threatening, just present. The way law enforcement stands when they expect trouble. The deputy held a manila envelope. It had a bold header in red ink. I couldn't read it from where I sat, but I saw my father's face when he saw it. He turned gray. "Victor Voss?" the deputy asked. My father stopped. "What is this?" "Service of process." The deputy said. "You've been served." My father didn't take the envelope. "Served with what?" "This is a civil arbitration. This is a family matter. This isn't from this court," the deputy said. His voice was neutral. "Professional. This is from the Commonwealth. You can accept it here, or we can discuss it at the station." My father's attorney, he had hired separate counsel for himself. Distinct from Sebastian's team, stood up fast. "Your Honor," he said, looking toward the empty bench. "We need the arbitrator." "The arbitrator is in recess," the clerk said. My father took the envelope. His hands shook as he opened it. He pulled out the first page. His eyes moved across the header. Then he froze. Criminal complaint. Attempted larceny over $250,000. Financial exploitation of an elderly person. Conspiracy to commit fraud. The dates on the complaint matched the withdrawals I had found. The $5,000 a month. The $40,000 total. The holding company in the Caymans. Sebastian turned away from the window. "Dad?" My father didn't answer. He was staring at the paper. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "They know," he whispered. "Know what?" Sebastian asked. His voice was too loud. "What do they know?" The side door opened. The arbitrator walked back in. He stopped when he saw the deputies. He looked at my father holding the criminal papers. He looked at Sebastian standing guilty by the window. He looked at me. "Ims Voss?" he said. "Is there something I should know before we resume?" I stood up. My legs were steady. They shouldn't have been. I should have been shaking. But Margot's voice was in my head. "Armor? Not a weapon. Armor? Your honor," I said. During the recess, my brother attempted to breach the trust's digital security. The room went silent. Sebastian laughed. It was a sharp, broken sound. "That's a lie. That's a complete fabrication." I held up my phone. "I have received 2 security alerts from Vanguard Fiduciary Services. The first at 9:47, the second at 9:48. Both originated from a device within this chamber. Both attempted to access the beneficiary portal using biometric overrides. Both failed and were logged as fraud attempts." I turned to face Sebastian. "The trustee uses artificial intelligence to detect anomalous behavior," I said. "When you tried to change the contact phone number on file, the system flagged your device signature. It matched the petitioner's registration. It is now on permanent fraud watch." Sebastian's face crumpled. "You bitch, you set me up." "I didn't set you up," I said. "You tried to steal from a dead woman during her arbitration hearing. You just couldn't help yourself." The arbitrator sat down. He didn't use his gavel. He didn't need to. "Approach," he said. "We approached, all of us, Sebastian, his attorneys, my father and his attorney, Rachel and me. We stood before the bench like children called to the principal's office. The arbitrator looked at the woman in the elegant suit. She had remained standing by the clerk's desk during the entire recess. She hadn't moved. She hadn't checked her phone. She had simply waited. "Ims Calder?" the arbitrator asked. "You are the trustee's representative." "Yes," she said. Her voice was calm. It was the calm of deep waters. "Do you have knowledge of these attempted breaches?" "I do," she said. She reached into her briefcase. She pulled out a second envelope. It was thinner than the first, unmarked. I also have additional documentation, a video affidavit, cryptographically sealed, recorded 6 months prior to the dissident's death. My sister, no, my brother, Sebastian made a sound. No, 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 play it, the arbitrator said. The woman walked to a monitor. She inserted a USB drive. She pressed 3 keys. Margot appeared. She was sitting in her parlor. The velvet curtains were behind her. The light was afternoon gold. She looked alive. She looked furious. She looked certain. If you're watching this, she said, it means my son and his wife have tried to take my estate by accusing my granddaughter of misconduct. My mother gasped. It means Sebastian has filed an emergency motion to seize assets? Margot continued. Her voice was strong, clear. It means they have alleged that Elena influenced me, that she isolated me, that she mismanaged my affairs. She leaned forward. Her eyes were the color of winter ice. Let me be clear. Elena visited me every Sunday for 6 years. Victor and Diana visited twice yearly. Sebastian visited when he needed money. In April, I discovered that Sebastian had stolen $40,000 from my investment accounts. I did not report him to the police. I am ashamed of that now. I thought family loyalty meant protection. She looked down at her hands. Then back up. On the night I called emergency services, Victor brought a mobile notary to my home. He wanted me to sign new wills, new powers of attorney. I refused. I asked for witnesses. He became angry. He said I was embarrassing the family. He said I was confused. My father's head dropped. He stared at the floor. If they accuse Elena of coercion, Margot said, they are projecting their own conduct. If they accuse her of isolation, remember that she is the only one who came. If they accuse her of mismanagement, remember that she found the theft I could not see. She sat back. I created this trust to protect her from them because she protected me, because she sees clearly, because she understands that money is stored energy, and I will not let them drain her to fuel their emptiness. The video ended. The screen went black. The arbitrator sat perfectly still for 30 seconds. No one moved. No one breathed. Then he spoke. Mr. Voss, he said to Sebastian, you filed a motion alleging elder abuse, financial mismanagement, and undue influence. You have presented no evidence. The respondent has presented video evidence of your own misconduct. You have attempted to breach trust security during these proceedings. You have triggered the no contest clause under Section 9. He picked up his pen. The motion is denied. Your interest in the Margot Voss irrevocable trust is forfeited. Permanently. He looked at my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Voss. Given your participation in the petition and the evidence of your own attempted coercion on the night of the emergency services call, your contingent interests are also suspended pending fraud review. He looked at me. Voss. The trust assets remain under administration by Vanguard Fiduciary Services. You are the sole recognized beneficiary. The trustee has requested a protective order prohibiting contact from the petitioners. I am granting that order. Your family is enjoined from contacting you regarding trust matters, from approaching your residence, and from making any further allegations of misconduct. He signed the paper. The scratch of the pen was the only sound. There will be a sanctions hearing regarding counsel's filing of a frivolous motion with knowledge of the no contest clause that is scheduled for 8 days from today. He looked at all of us. This arbitration is concluded. He stood. He left. The deputies remained. Sebastian turned to me. His face was twisted. Ugly. You get everything, he spat. The house, the money, everything. No, I said. I get what's left after you tried to steal it. There's a difference. My mother was crying. Real tears this time, not performance, loss of control. My father still stared at the criminal complaint in his hands. He looked like a man who had walked off a cliff and only just realized there was no ground beneath his feet. I walked toward the exit. Rachel walked beside me. The woman in the elegant suit, Ms. Calder, fell into step on my other side. One more thing, she said quietly. I stopped. She handed me the thin envelope. This is for you, from Margot. Personal, not part of the trust record. I took it. And the security alert, she said. The attempted breach? The trustee has filed a criminal complaint with the FBI's cyber division. Biometric fraud across state lines. It's a federal matter now. I looked back. Sebastian was still standing at the table. His hands were in his pockets. But this time he wasn't holding a phone. He was in handcuffs. The deputies had moved while I wasn't looking. I walked out into the hallway. The light was bright. The air was cold, but I could breathe. I have the envelope in my hands. It's Margot's last personal message, but I haven't opened it yet. I'm standing in the hallway of the arbitration building, and I can hear Sebastian shouting as they lead him away. What I don't know is that inside that envelope isn't just a letter. It's a key, a physical brass key, and an address for a safety deposit box that contains something no one knew existed. I didn't open the envelope in the hallway. I didn't open it in the elevator. I waited until I was outside on the steps of the building, with the Boston wind cutting through my coat and Rachel standing beside me holding an umbrella that kept turning inside out. "Are you going to open it?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. My hands were shaking. I needed to feel the cold first. I needed to know this was real. We walked to the coffee shop across the street, the one with the green awning and the terrible espresso. We sat in the corner booth. The vinyl seat was cracked. The window was streaked with rain. I ordered tea, hot water, and a bag. Nothing else. I needed the heat in my hands. Then I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Margot's handwriting. The same precise cursive she had used for grocery lists and birthday cards. "My dearest Elena, if you're reading this, the vultures have shown their claws and you have survived. I'm proud of you. Not because you won, because you endured. There's one thing I did not place in the trust. One thing I kept apart, not from suspicion, but from ceremony. It is yours alone. No trustee controls it. No court can reach it. No brother can steal it. Go to First Federal Bank on State Street, box 914. The key is enclosed. What is inside is not valuable to anyone but you. It is the true inheritance. The rest is just money. Love, M." I poured the key into my palm. It was brass, heavy, old-fashioned. It had teeth that looked like they could open secrets. "Safety deposit box," Rachel said. She leaned over. "State Street is 5 blocks from here." "I know," I said. "Are you going?" "Yes," I said. "But not today. I need to let them clear out first." I didn't want to see Sebastian led away in chains. I didn't want to watch my father realize that his criminal complaint meant real prison time. I needed the streets to empty of my family before I went to collect my grandmother's final gift. 3 days later, I went. First Federal was a granite building that looked like a temple. The lobby was marble. The tellers stood behind brass bars. It smelled like money and time. I asked for the safety deposit department. A man named Mr. Henderson took me downstairs. He had kind eyes and a mustache that had gone gray. "Box 914, he said. "Mrs. Voss paid for 20 years in advance. She said only you would come. She said you would have the key." I showed him the brass key. He nodded. He inserted a master key. He turned both locks. The box was long, thin, the kind that holds documents or jewelry or secrets. He left me alone in the room. Small, white walls, a single light overhead, a table. I opened the box. Inside was a leather journal. The cover was soft with age. The pages were edged in gold, and beneath it, a stack of photographs. I opened the journal first. It was Margot's handwriting. Every page. Dates going back to 1974. The year my father was born. Victor cried all night. Arthur held him. I felt nothing but exhaustion. I'm afraid I'm not a natural mother. I turned pages. Victor took his first steps today. I felt a spark. Not love yet, just interest. Perhaps that is how it begins. More pages. Years passing. Victor asked why I never hug him. I told him I was not a hugging person. That was a lie. I hug the cat. I hug my sister. I do not hug him because he feels like a stranger who grew inside my body. What is wrong with me? I sat down. The chair was hard. I didn't care. She had documented everything. Her doubts, her failures. Her slow, growing love for my father that never quite matched the love she felt for the garden, for books, for solitude. Then I found the entries about me. Elena was born today. 4 pounds, 7 ounces. She did not cry. She looked at me with eyes that saw everything. I felt it immediately. The connection I never had with Victor. It is unfair. It is biological betrayal. But it is real. My hands shook. Elena came to visit. She is 6. She asked why I have so many books. I said they are friends who never leave. She said, then you are never alone. I wept after she left. I do not know why. Page after page. Elena is 10. She found me crying over Arthur's pipe. She sat beside me. She did not speak. She just held my hand. She understands that grief is silent. Elena is 16. She defended a boy at school who was being bullied. She came home with a black eye. She said it was worth it. She is braver than I ever was. Elena is 22. She graduated. She wore a dress I bought her. She looked like me when I was young, but softer, kinder. I am leaving her the house. I am leaving her the money. But I want to leave her this: the knowledge that she was loved completely. Not for what she did, for who she is. The last entry was dated 3 weeks before she died. The trust is signed. The video is made. I have done what I can to protect her from the greed that infected my son, but protection is not love. So I write this: Elena, you were the daughter of my heart. You were the only one who saw me. Thank you for seeing me. I closed the book. I picked up the photographs. They were of me. Hundreds of them. Not posed, not staged. Me reading on the floor, me making tea, me sleeping on the library sofa during those final weeks. She had taken them when I wasn't looking. She had captured me being loved. Underneath the photos was a single envelope. It contained a cashier's check, made out to me. For $100,000, the memo line said, "For joy. Not for bills, for joy." I sat in that white room for an hour. I cried until my face hurt. Not because I had won. Not because Sebastian had lost. Because she had seen me. All along, she had seen me. 2 weeks later, the sanctions hearing took place. I didn't attend. Rachel went for me. She texted me the results. Sebastian's attorneys were fined. Their law licenses were flagged for ethical review. My father pleaded guilty to attempted larceny. He received 5 years probation and full restitution. He sold his construction business to pay it. My mother filed for divorce 6 months later. She moved to Florida. She sent me a postcard once. It said, "I was wrong about you. It doesn't fix anything, but I was wrong." Sebastian faced federal charges for the cyber intrusion. The biometric evidence was ironclad. He took a plea, 18 months in federal prison. When he gets out, he will owe $200,000 in fines. I didn't go to the sentencing. I was busy. I bought a house. Not the brownstone. That remains in trust. I bought a small cottage in Vermont, near the woods, with a porch and a garden. I planted roses. Margot's favorite. I hung the photographs she took. I framed the journal entry about bravery. I work 3 days a week now. Forensic accounting. I find the truth in ledgers. I find the patterns. The rest of the time, I sit on my porch. I drink tea. I remember a woman who loved me enough to protect me from her own blood. The money is administered by Vanguard. I receive distributions quarterly. I donate 40% to legal aid societies. I help other people fight their families when the families try to steal their peace. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sad. I'm just grateful. Because in the end, the inheritance wasn't the house. It wasn't the portfolio. It wasn't the trust. It was knowing that for 6 years, every Sunday, I gave her my time. And she gave me her attention. And that is worth more than $7 million. That is worth everything. Thank you so much for staying with me through this story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more than you know. What would you have done if you found out your family was stealing from your grandmother? Would you have gone to court? Or tried to forgive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, check out the video in the description. Until next time, take care of yourself. You're worth it.